Hey everybody, welcome back to Sip&Talk. I'm Joe. And as always, I'm ready to dive into some seriously juicy info with you all today. It's like we're mixing up a knowledge cocktail here. Strong stuff, but oh, so smooth going down.
And I'm Sunny, your friendly neighborhood fact checker. I'll make sure we get all the ingredients right. Speaking of mixing things up, you know it's always a good blend? Travel whiskey and discovering awesome new things. You have to check out our friend Mickey's YouTube channel, Mickey to Life.
Yeah, Mickey's the best. He's always got something cool going on.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter what time zone you are in right now. Welcome back to Sip&Talk. We are so glad you're here.
Yes, welcome back, everyone. It's a really great day to get into a massive and, quite frankly, pretty unsettling topic.
It really is. I actually had to grab an extra cup of coffee just looking over the notes for this one. But hey, Sip&Talkers, do you guys remember our last show? We were talking about that totally wild dual-track infiltration in Taiwan.
Oh, yeah, the one with the retired military officers and the TSMC engineers.
Exactly. And I know, because I felt the same way. A lot of you are probably listening to that and thinking, wow, this sounds like a completely surreal movie plot. Like it's too crazy to be real life.
Right. But, I mean, here is where we really need to widen the lens, because that whole situation in Taiwan, that is literally just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
It is. When you look at the global landscape, the playbook that Beijing is running right now, it's happening all over the world. And it completely shatters that whole romanticized James Bond illusion of what espionage actually looks like.
Which is funny because, when I hear the phrase intelligence warfare, my brain automatically goes straight to the tuxedo. Like stolen microfilm in a dark alley in Vienna, a crazy car chase through, winding European streets.
Shaken, not stirred. Right?
Exactly. Lasers and gadgets.
Well, sorry to burst the bubble, but modern intelligence warfare isn't cinematic at all. It's actually incredibly bureaucratic, it's dry, and honestly, sometimes it's just flat out boring.
Boring? Really?
Yeah, but that mundane nature is exactly what makes it so incredibly dangerous. Like, instead of an operative dropping through a laser grid with a silenced pistol, you have these state actors who are just exploiting standard legal loopholes. They're using completely normal business deals, and they're executing these quiet cyber pre-deployments. They just slip right into the daily infrastructure and the legal systems that we all just blindly trust.
And when we say global, I mean, we are talking right in our own backyards here. Like, let's look at the U.S. for a second. Just recently, the DOJ and the FBI shut down a literal, actual overseas secret police station, and it wasn't hidden in some underground bunker. It was operating right in the middle of a super busy building in Manhattan's Chinatown. Right,
and that case is just a perfect example of how this infiltration works. Right in plain sight. They obviously don't put a big neon sign on the front door that says, foreign police station.
Right, walk-ins welcome.
Exactly. The investigation actually revealed that they used a non-governmental organization like a hometown association as a front.
Okay, so on paper, it just looks like a normal community center.
Exactly. It looks like an innocent place helping expats, translate legal documents or figure out how to renew a driver's license.
But the FBI found out they were actually engaging in straight-up cross-national repression. Like, the operators inside were acting as an arm of the public security apparatus back in China.
Yeah, they were tracking down dissidents who were living here in the U.S.
Which is just terrifying. Monitoring their movements, harassing their family members back home, and basically coercing these dissidents to get on a plane and return to China to face charges.
And, a jury looked at all this evidence, and they found the operators guilty of acting as illegal foreign agents because it just completely bypasses U.S. sovereignty.
It's wild. But as scary as that physical stuff is, the digital side of the digital infiltration is operating on a scale that affects our entire national grid.
Oh, absolutely. You've got these state-sponsored hacking groups, like the one they call Volt Typhoon.
Yeah.
Just actively burrowing into U.S. infrastructure as we speak.
Yeah, the joint advisories from CISA, the NSA, and Microsoft on Volt Typhoon are genuinely terrifying to read. But, okay, I gotta ask, how do they actually stay hidden?
What do you mean?
Well, we spend billions of dollars on cybersecurity in this country, right? How do state-sponsored hackers just sit inside a local water facility's computer network for years without setting off like 1,000 alarms?
So the technical mechanics of it are actually fascinating. They use this strategy called living off the land, or LOTL.
Living off the land, like a survivalist in the woods.
Kinda, yeah. So normally when a hacker breaches a network, They drop malicious software malware onto the servers, and eventually our modern cybersecurity tools detect that foreign malicious signature, flag it, and quarantine it.
Right, like an antivirus catching a bug.
Exactly. But Volt Typhoon bypasses that entirely. They literally don't drop any malware. None. Instead, they use the system's own built-in network administration tools.
Wait, hold on. So they are using the exact same software that our own IT guys use?
Precisely. They use tools like PowerShell or Windows management instrumentation. They are typing the exact same commands that a legitimate network administrator would use to, check system health or route traffic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and because they're using legitimate tools, their actions just blend in perfectly. With normal everyday network traffic, it becomes incredibly difficult to spot the anomaly.
I mean, that is literally the equivalent of a creepy roommate living inside your walls, but they're just using your own Wi-Fi to watch Netflix.
That is a very disturbing but very accurate analogy.
But here is the craziest part of those Volt Typhoon reports. They aren't actually stealing anything. Like, they aren't going after credit card numbers, and they aren't stealing corporate secrets to go build a better jet engine or something.
No, their primary objective is pre-deployment.
Pre-deployment.
Right. They are establishing persistent, quiet access inside power grids, water treatment facilities, telecommunication systems across the U.S. And they specifically highlighted locations like Guam, which, as we know, is a major U.S. military hub in the Pacific.
Okay, I have to push back here for just a second because, a part of me feels like this borders on sci-fi paranoia.
I get.
Like, are we seriously supposed to believe there are highly trained cyber operatives just hanging out in our municipal water pipes, doing absolutely nothing for years on end, just waiting?
I know it sounds completely paranoid. Until you look at the strategic doctrine driving it, the intelligence assessments are actually very clear on this. They're waiting for a geopolitical trigger.
Like what?
Well, let's say a major conflict breaks out in the Taiwan Strait. The exact moment the U.S. decides to intervene, those hackers activate. They trigger those pre-deployed assets to shut down power grids and paralyze communications.
Oh my God, which would just create massive domestic chaos here at home.
And that chaos is the entire point. If the U.S. public is suddenly dealing with rolling blackouts, poisoned water supplies, collapsed cellular networks, the political focus turns entirely inward.
Right. We can't focus on a war across the world if the lights are out in Chicago.
Exactly. It delays the U.S. military's ability to mobilize and deploy forces across the Pacific, and that buys the adversary critical time.
So it's about paralyzing a nation structurally. But, taking down a country doesn't just happen at the power plant. It happens in parliament, too.
Very true.
If we shift our focus to allied nations, we see this exact same strategy being applied to political and technological infrastructure. Like, let's talk about Europe, because the human infiltration over there has been staggering lately.
It really has. Europe has seen this massive surge in political compromise.
Yeah.
Like in the UK, MI5 took this incredibly rare step of issuing a public security interference alert about this prominent lawyer named Christine Lee.
Right, and she had spent years basically channeling funds to influence British politicians.
Yes, she was essentially building a massive political influence network on behalf of the United Front Work Department, which, for anyone unfamiliar, is not a traditional spy agency like the CIA.
Yeah, let's clarify that.
It's an intelligence and influence agency designed to co-opt and neutralize sources of potential opposition. Their mandate is literally to build relationships with foreign elites, business leaders, politicians, and subtly guide their policy decisions to align with Beijing's interests.
And often without the target even realizing they were being manipulated.
Exactly. They think they're just making a smart business or political connection.
And we saw a very, very similar tactic blow up in Germany recently. German authorities arrested a Chinese-born aide who was working directly for a far-right European Parliament member.
Yes, the AfD aide.
Right, and the accusation is that he was a direct informant for the Ministry of State Security. He was actively monitoring European Parliament dynamics, gathering intelligence on backroom negotiations, and spying on dissidents right there in Germany. I mean, they are literally buying a seat at the table where the laws are written.
It's incredibly brazen. And while Europe is facing all this heavy political infiltration, Japan is dealing with a catastrophic assault on its technological and defense sectors.
Yeah, this one blew my mind.
I mean, the NSA literally had to fly executives to Tokyo to personally warn Japan that hackers had deeply breached their classified defense networks.
Going after the absolute core of the U.S.-Japan military alliance plans. But it isn't just military servers, is it?
No, not at all. Japanese police just recently arrested a researcher at a major national institute AST. He allegedly stole advanced fluorine compound technology and just funneled the data straight to a mainland chemical company.
Okay, fluorine compounds. That sounds like some obscure high school chemistry class stuff.
It does, but that specific theft is a textbook example of targeting what we call dual-use technology. Fluorine compounds are absolutely critical for manufacturing advanced semiconductors.
Oh, of course. Semiconductors again.
Always. They're used in the etching process for silicon wafers, and they're also vital for high-end optics used in military sensors.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We have physical secret police stations in New York, we have hackers living in the water grid, we have massive political donations in London, and stolen semiconductor tech in Tokyo.
That's a landscape, yeah.
The sheer manpower required to execute all of this globally is mind-boggling. How are they possibly recruiting all these people to do this inside work?
Well, the recruitment pipeline is where things get truly, truly insidious. Intelligence agencies worldwide are currently raising massive red flags about a global social media trap. And it's specifically operating on professional networking platforms like LinkedIn.
Oh, right, the corporate headhunting trap. I've read the warnings on this, and honestly, I have to mock it for a second.
Go for it.
How are smart, security-cleared professionals actually falling for this? It is literally like seeing a sketchy Craigslist ad that says, "Free iPhone, just come alone to my dark basement."
I know, it sounds so obvious when you put it like that.
All right. If an anonymous recruiter on the internet offers you $10,000 for a basic report, there is clearly a catch. Are aerospace engineers really this gullible?
It is so easy to laugh at from the outside, but you have to understand the psychological grooming process they use. It is a masterclass in gray zone manipulation.
Okay, walk me through it.
So operatives create these incredibly convincing fake profiles. They pose as international consultants, academics, or recruiters for prestigious think tanks. And they specifically target cleared personnel, former military officers, government researchers, tech executives.
And I'm assuming they don't open the chat by asking for nuclear launch codes?
Never. The initial request is always for something completely innocuous. They ask you to write a summary of publicly available industry trends, or just to consult on a broad market analysis.
Something you could probably just Google.
Exactly. And they pay you very, very well for it.
So the target feels completely safe. They just think, oh, sweet, I'm doing some lucrative freelance consulting on the side.
Right. They build your ego, they validate your expertise, and they establish a financial relationship. Then, maybe a few months later, they invite you to an all-expenses-paid conference in a third country. Maybe somewhere nice in Southeast Asia.
Oh, free vacation.
Exactly. And once you are there in person, enjoying the luxury hotel and the fine dining, the requests become slightly more sensitive. They ask for internal, maybe unclassified, but proprietary company data.
Wow. They literally boil the frogs slowly.
By the time the target realizes they are actually handing over classified material, it's too late. They have already accepted thousands of dollars from a foreign intelligence service, they have traveled internationally to meet them, and they are fully compromised.
The trap snaps shut.
The honey trap snaps shut, and the blackmail begins. It turns into work for us, or we expose what you've already done to your government and ruin your life.
That is genuinely terrifying, just using human psychology against us. So, okay, we've explored the cyber pre-deployment, the political money, the tech theft, and these wild LinkedIn traps. Now we have to bring all of this back to the front lines, where every single one of these methods is combined, field-tested, and executed at the same time.
And that brings us right back to Taiwan, and specifically the Ding Xiaohu case.
Right. Because Taiwan serves as this ultimate microcosm for this global strategy.
It really does. The Ding Xiaohu case perfectly illustrates how the military and the technological tracks operate in tandem.
Let's do a super quick recap for you guys if you missed our previous breakdown. Ding Xiaohu was this Hong Kong middleman, right? And he was orchestrating a massive dual-track infiltration. On the military track, his network lured retired Taiwanese military officers with these free landing tours.
Right. These were lavish, all-expenses-paid trips to the mainland.
But the goal wasn't to get them to steal secrets, was it? The goal was to use their old boys network to reach active duty personnel.
Exactly. The strategy was to secure promises of what they called passive resistance. They wanted these active officers to agree that if a conflict ever broke out, they wouldn't defect, but they wouldn't fight hard either. They would just put their weapons down.
Just hollowing out the military's will to fight from the inside.
Yes. And then on the tech track, Ding collaborated with a former TSMC manager for a project they literally called the Blue Ocean Plan.
Which sounds like a terrible corporate retreat.
Right. But in reality, they set up a shell company and began bribing active engineers to steal 21 core technologies. They were specifically targeting the highly advanced 2-nanometer and 14-nanometer manufacturing processes.
But fortunately, they were caught by TSMC's internal data protection systems. The authorities moved in, arrests were made, the whole network was dismantled.
And this is where the story takes a really bizarre turn.
Yes, this is the crazy part.
During the investigation and the trial process, 3 key figures in this network, including Ding Xiaohu himself, his assistant, and a major business associate, all died of illness within about a year of each other.
Okay, whenever something like this happens in the middle of a high-stakes espionage trial, public imagination immediately just runs wild. Everyone naturally assumes the regime silenced them to cut the intelligence chain.
Of course they do.
And I mean, come on, you can't blame them. 3 key players dropping dead in a single year. Statistically, that feels impossible to ignore. That sounds exactly like the HR department of a mafia family just taking care of loose ends.
Right, like The Sopranos meets The Office.
Yes. Just a permanent vacation for the guys who know too much. I mean, how do intelligence agencies actually manage exposed assets, if not through, well, violence?
Look, I know the conspiracy theory is super compelling, but if we actually look at the official hospital records and the death certificates, the reality is much more biological than it is cinematic.
Okay, hit me with the facts.
All 3 died of natural causes, organ failure, cancer. We have to look at the demographics and the environment here. These individuals were older, and suddenly they are arrested under a newly updated National Security Act, facing a decade or more in a high-security prison.
So the physical toll of that stress must just be astronomical.
It is beyond what most people can imagine. The psychological pressure of high-stakes interrogations, the absolute collapse of their social and financial standing, and just the reality of likely dying in a prison cell, it frequently triggers severe, fatal health crises in older suspects.
That does make sense.
And furthermore, the standard protocol for intelligence agencies to protect a compromised network isn't assassination. That carries a completely unacceptable diplomatic risk. The actual standard protocol is just the firewall.
The firewall, meaning you just cut the cord.
You sever all communication. Espionage networks operate in isolated cells. By the time a middleman like Ding is arrested, his handlers have already burned the communication lines. Ding likely didn't even know the true identity or the location of the person at the top.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you don't need to kill the middleman if the middleman doesn't actually know anything useful to the authorities anyway.
Wow, that makes perfect logical sense. The legal system just hits a dead end because the defendant is deceased, but the rest of the lower-level network still faces massive prison time.
Exactly.
Now, because the ultimate goal of all this infiltration, whether it's the military networks, the tech supply chains, or the political funding in Europe, is to force political outcomes, we really have to examine the political target itself.
We do. And this requires us to look objectively at a very complex and often heavily misunderstood political stance in Taiwan, the Kuomintang or KMT party.
Right.
We need to look at their historical versus their current position on this massive concept of unification.
Because when you hear the word unification in the global news, it gets incredibly messy very fast.
Okay.
So let's break it down into 3 distinct questions. Are we talking about the KMT unifying the mainland? Are we talking about democratic unification? Or are we talking about Taiwan being unified by Beijing?
To understand their present reality, you really have to understand their history. Decades ago, under Chiang Kai-shek, the goal was explicitly clear: military unification to defeat communism. It was their stated mission to take back the mainland by force.
But nobody in 2026 is realistically advocating for a military invasion of the mainland. I mean, the power dynamics make that absolutely absurd. So what is the actual current stance today?
The KMT's official current stance is democratic unification under the framework of the Republic of China Constitution. They strictly oppose Taiwan independence because they believe it would immediately trigger a war. But equally, they strictly oppose Beijing's one country, two systems model. They absolutely do not want to be unified under an authoritarian communist system.
Okay, wow. That sounds like a massive, almost paralyzing dilemma for them politically.
It is the ultimate geopolitical catch-22. They cannot militarily or politically absorb the mainland. The sheer size and economic disparity make that literally impossible.
Right.
But they fundamentally refuse to be absorbed by it. So to navigate this impossible situation, they rely on a diplomatic concept called the 1992 consensus as a buffer.
Ah, the famous 1992 consensus. But how does that actually work in practice, like on the ground?
It is essentially a masterpiece of strategic ambiguity. It is an agreement to agree that there is one China, but to fundamentally disagree on what one China actually means.
Oh, clever.
Very. For the KMT, this consensus is a vital tool. It allows them to maintain cross-strait peace, foster economic dialogue, and essentially kick the explosive can of unification down the road to some distant, undefined future generation. It is purely a survival strategy to avoid immediate kinetic war.
You know, I love looking at geopolitics through the lens of everyday life, and to me, the KMT's political dilemma is basically a terrible modern dating situation.
Oh, Zozik out of here.
It is. It's like being stuck in a relationship status of, it's complicated. Forever. Because you know that breaking up is going to cause a massive neighborhood-destroying fight that ruins everyone's lives. But getting married is absolutely 100% out of the question.
That is.
So you just keep going to awkward dinners, maintaining the status quo, and desperately praying nobody brings up the future.
I mean, that is a highly accurate way to frame it. And when you look at the public reality in Taiwan, the polling data consistently shows that roughly 80% of the public wants exactly that. They just want to maintain the status quo.
Just keep having the awkward dinners.
Right. They don't want a sudden, aggressive move toward formal independence that guarantees a devastating war. And they absolutely do not want to be absorbed by an authoritarian regime.
And how does the international community like the US, Europe, Japan, how do they view this delicate balancing act?
The international community views this public desire to keep a democratic distance from authoritarianism as a completely natural defense mechanism. And furthermore, they view keeping Taiwan's tech sector, especially those advanced nodes at TSMC we talked about, out of authoritarian control as a vital pillar of global economic security.
Because everything runs on those chips.
Everything. The entire Western world strategy right now is heavily focused on de-risking those tech supply chains.
So when we pull all of these elements together, right, the cyber attacks on water grids, the secret police stations in New York, the United Front money in London, the LinkedIn recruitment traps, the political maneuvering, they aren't isolated incidents at all.
Not even a little bit.
They are interconnected pieces of gray zone warfare designed to shift that very delicate status quo.
It is a comprehensive, globally coordinated strategy. It's designed to wear down institutional trust, acquire critical dual-use technology, and shape the political landscape from the inside out, all without ever having to fire a single traditional bullet.
It is just mind-blowing when you zoom out and look at the whole board. But hey, before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to do a quick tone check with everyone listening.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We have covered some intense, globally significant security issues today. But as always on Sip and Talk, our goal here is never to attack any nation, any group, or any people. Our mission is simply to look objectively at the facts, the court documents, and the intelligence reports so that you, the listener, can engage in independent, critical thinking. We aren't taking sides, we are just putting the puzzle pieces on the table.
Exactly. Knowledge is most valuable when it is understood and applied. Gray zone warfare thrives in the shadows. It relies heavily on public ignorance. It exploits the everyday trust we place in our legal systems, our business networks, and our digital infrastructure. By clearly understanding the mechanics of how these operations actually work, we strip away their effectiveness.
We take away the shadows. I love that. All right, Sip and Talkers, that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to keep unpacking the world with us, please hit that subscribe button to the Sip and Talk show wherever you are listening right now.
Please do.
And on a slightly lighter note, if you need a mental break from global espionage and water grid hackers, definitely check out our old friend Mickey's YouTube channel, Mickey to Life. He's got some really great travel vlogs and fun content up right now to balance out the heavy stuff. Seriously, go watch it. It's hilarious.
It is always good to decompress after a topic like this one.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to leave you with a final provocative thought for the week. We talked a lot about Volt Typhoon hackers quietly hiding in the massive routers of our water grids and power stations, just waiting for a signal. So if state-sponsored hackers are already treating our national infrastructure like a chessboard, what harmless smart device sitting in your home right now might actually be a pawn just waiting for its first move?
Oh, that is a chilling thought to end on.
Keep your Wi-Fi routers updated, check your smart fridge, and trust no sketchy LinkedIn recruiters. Thank you so much for joining us. We will catch you on the next deep dive here on Sip and Talk. Stay curious.